Element 27 on the periodic table is known as cobalt. Cobalt. Ooh, messed that up a little bit. All right, this is Norris Teaches Science with me, Mr. Norris. We're going to be covering another physical science edition video. This one is based on the physics section of physical science. And today we're going to be talking about speed. So your goal of this video is that I can calculate the speed of an object based off frame of reference. So what is speed? If you haven't noticed, I usually like to start with a definition. So let's start with the definition of speed. It is the rate of motion. Hint, for all future reference, when something says rate, it means it's dealing with time. So we're talking about how fast stuff moves. So the actual definition is the change of position or distance over a period of time. Now, the speed has a formula, and this is one of the many formulas that you're going to have to need to know in physical science. I'm going to present it in its algebraic form, but I'm also going to give you the triangle form. In my class, I usually give a sheet that we record all of this information on with the triangle and what all the symbols mean and the units. Because when you take my physical science class, you have to at least attempt the units when you give an answer. I do not take off points if the unit's wrong, but I do take off points if you do not give me a unit. But luckily, you used the formula sheet, so you should be able to do the units correctly. So the speed formula is speed equals distance divided by time, or little s equals little d over little t. Little s means speed, and the unit will be m over s, which is meters per second. Little d means distance, and its unit is meters, and little t is time, and its unit is seconds. You have to watch the size of the letter you choose here for these formulas because capital D would mean density, not distance. Now, in the triangle form, if you don't remember, numbers next to each other, you would multiply, and numbers on top of each other, you divide. So S is at the bottom, D is at the top, T is at the bottom as well. We already know that because D divided by T, so D divided by T, and then S goes in the empty spot. Now, when we talk about speed, you can talk about two things. You can talk about average speed versus instantaneous speed. Average speed is calculated for the total distance and total time of the motion, the whole time. Instantaneous speed is the speed at a certain point, or basically the speed right now. So average speed, you have to do the whole trip, while instantaneous speed is if, say, you're driving a car and you look down, looking at the speedometer, that would be your instantaneous speed. Now, speed graphs. There are two different speed graphs. These are distance versus time graphs. That means at the bottom of each graph, you would have distance, and on the side, you would have time. Nope. Sorry, that's wrong. It's reversed. Distance. It's on the y-axis, times on the x. You have constant speed, which means as time goes on, distance increases, but not moving means you're not moving anywhere, but your time's still going forward. So speed problem number 1. So get your calculator ready. We're going to do these together. We're going to do this one together. Then you're going to try the next one on your own before I go over it. So this first one says, Alex rode his motorcycle 600 meters in 15 seconds. How fast did he go? One thing you should do is you should look at these problems and then circle all your values. All right, 15 seconds, and then underline what you're trying to find, how fast he's going. How fast he's going would mean speed. So in the triangle, we would place the letter that represents speed, and that's a lowercase s, and it goes in this part of the triangle. At the top of the triangle would go your distance. Distance is a measure of meters. And so how many meters did he go? 600. And then at the bottom, we're going to place our time, and time is 15 seconds. Now we need to look, are the numbers next to each other or on top of each other? Well, they're on top of each other. That means we're going to divide. And when you enter it in the calculator, you're going to do 600 divided by 15, and you would get 40 as your value. But we still need to have a unit, because in my class, each problem gets 3 points. You get a point for completing the triangle, you get a point for your correct answer, and you get a point for the unit. The unit for speed is meters per second in this problem. I hope you got that. In class I would ask if there's any questions, but I can't look at you, so I don't know. So speed problem number 2. I want you to try it out. I'm going to give you a hint. Since it says average speed, you're going to use this last point on the graph. I'm going to pause the video real quick, see if you can figure out what the answer is. Did you pause the video? Did you? All right, let's do this. It says, what is the average speed of the car that the graph represents? So we know we're trying to find speed, so we're going to leave the little s in the triangle. If we were trying to find any of the other ones, we would just leave that letter in there. Then we have to look at the graph. The graph can give us distance and it can give us time. So at the top is our distance. So we go to a point and distance is on the y-axis. So we follow it over and we find that it's right here. And if you look at the scale, that would be 12. And if you go back to the point, when you get time, you go down and you get 4. Now, look, are the numbers on top of each other or next to each other? Well, they're on top of each other, so you're going to divide. So you would enter 12 divided by 4, and you would get 3. But we still need a unit. This unit is a little different because we need to look at what they give us in the graph. This one has kilometers and seconds. So our unit here will be kilometers per second. But in my class, as long as you attempted a unit, you would have got the point. I would have just gave you the correct unit instead. But this is a little bit about calculating speed and how speed works with distance. Hope you learned something today. And like always, I'm Mr. Norris, and come back for another video.